Why 90% of people misread body language. You think you know when someone is lying. You think a smile means happiness. You think crossed arms mean defense. But you're wrong. Most people misread body language not because the signals are unclear. They misread because they project their own emotions onto others. What you see is rarely what they mean. I learned this the hard way. I once sat across from a man who kept scratching his neck during our talk. I thought he was nervous. Later I realized he was allergic to his own shirt collar. My brain had written a whole story that never existed. That's the trap. We don't read people. We read ourselves, reflected in them. This is why 90% of people fail at decoding body language. Because it's not about the body. It's about the context, the power dynamics, the unspoken game underneath. Think about it. When someone looks away while you speak, do you instantly think they are bored? Or could it be they are processing deeply? Or hiding respect so strong they can't look at you directly? Human nature psychology is messy. Signals overlap. A smile can hide contempt. A frown can mean focus. Tears can be manipulation tactics, not sadness. We live in a world where social survival skills are no longer about hunting animals. They are about hunting truth in other people. Reading signals, spotting traps, catching lies. Yet we fall into cliches. We memorize YouTube tricks. If someone touches their nose, they are lying. If their arms cross, they are defensive. If only it were that simple. The truth is harsher. Most of these so-called signals are meaningless without the hidden layer. The layer of status. The layer of power. The layer of what game is actually being played in the room. Imagine two people with arms crossed. A manager in a meeting. An intern in the same meeting. Same gesture. Different universe. For the manager, arms crossed may signal dominance, I own this space. For the intern, arms crossed may mean, I feel small. I need protection. Same signal, opposite meaning. That's why social hierarchy explained is never about one gesture. It's about the entire stage. Where people sit, who interrupts whom, who laughs first, who doesn't need to laugh at all. If you only look at the body, you miss the hierarchy. If you miss the hierarchy, you misread the body. Think of game theory in real life. No signal exists alone. Every gesture is a move, a response to another move. Someone leans forward, because someone else leaned back. Someone clenches fists, because the conversation has cornered them. Body language is not static. It's relational. It's survival. This is where emotional intelligence enters. Not the soft, fluffy version you see in corporate seminars. The raw version. The ability to feel the hidden pressure in a room. To notice when silence becomes louder than words. To see when someone's smile doesn't reach their eyes. And here's the paradox. If you focus too hard on signals, you miss the person. You become robotic. You think, she touched her hair, attraction confirmed. While missing the fact that she's actually stressed because of her boss. To truly know how to read people, you must kill your assumptions. You must empty your mind, like wiping a foggy window. Only then do the patterns emerge. Look at office politics tips you've heard. They tell you. Watch who comes late, who takes credit, who sits close to the boss. That's not just politics. That's body language, but stretched over weeks instead of seconds. It's the macro version of crossed arms. It's movement inside the hierarchy. Most people never connect these dots. They treat micro gestures as secrets. They forget the macro story. And that's why manipulation tactics work so easily. A manipulator knows you'll fall for the fake smile. They know you'll read their nervous fidgeting as honesty. They feed you signals that trigger your bias. And you walk straight into their trap. This is psychological manipulation in its purest form. Not just words, but posture, pauses, eye contact carefully engineered. A skilled manipulator can win without saying much. They let your brain do the lying to itself. Think of it this way. When you misread body language, you're not failing at observation. You're failing at context. You're blind to the survival mindset that runs beneath every gesture. In the street, this is called being street smart. Street smart skills are not about spotting one twitch or one look. They are about sensing whether the vibe of the group has shifted. Whether someone is testing you or backing off. Whether a laugh is with you or at you. To misread these cues is dangerous. On the street, it can cost your safety. In business, it can cost your influence. In relationships, it can cost your trust. This is why people ask, how to win in life. And the answer is never just, work harder, study harder. The answer is, Learn to read the game people play around you. Read the invisible chessboard. See the pieces moving when no one admits they're moving. Because every social setting is a board. Family dinner, team meeting, bar conversation, even waiting in line at the airport. Every place has unspoken social rules. If you follow them blindly, you become a pawn. If you see them clearly, you gain choice. Now, think about yourself. When was the last time you misread someone's body? Did you mistake distance for arrogance? Did you confuse politeness for interest? Did you trust a smile that later betrayed you? That moment is the mirror. That's where human nature psychology reveals its cruel side. We don't see people as they are. We see them as we fear them, or as we wish them to be. So the real work is not in memorizing 100 body language tricks. The real work is noticing your own bias. The story your mind writes before the facts. Because that story is the biggest manipulator of all. Muta 1 exists for this reason. Not to teach fake confidence. Not to give you cheap party tricks. But to sharpen the one tool you already carry, awareness. Awareness of power dynamics. Awareness of survival instinct. Awareness that every gesture is a move in the silent game of life. When you start seeing through this lens, people stop being mysteries. They become players, some honest, some deceitful, all driven by something deeper than the surface, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. You begin to realize, most conversations are not about information. They are negotiations of power, of territory, of trust. Every nod, every pause, every slight lean forward, it's a bid. A bid to dominate or submit, to be accepted or feared, to protect or provoke. So next time someone smiles at you, don't just ask, is it real? Ask, what's the cost of this smile? Because every social move comes with a price. Especially when you don't know the game you're in. Take job interviews. People focus on their answers, on their handshake, on sitting upright, but they miss the real test, the silent negotiation. Who speaks first? Who interrupts? Who adjusts their body toward whom? Who makes the other wait? These are the real interview questions. Unspoken, yet decisive. You're not being evaluated only for skill. You're being read for rank. For where you belong in the social structure. For how well you play the game. And if you misread body language, you're not just losing clarity. You're signaling naivety. You're exposing yourself as someone who doesn't see the field. And predators love that, because in any hierarchy, the one who sees more, holds more power. That's why power dynamics aren't just something you study in politics or leadership. They're in your daily life. In the elevator, at the dinner table, in how two friends decide who pays the bill. It's everywhere, and most people stay blind. Why? Because it's safer to believe everyone is being honest. It's comforting to think gestures mean what we hope they mean. That a hug means love. That eye contact means sincerity. But that comfort is often the leash. It keeps you locked in dynamics you don't understand. Trapped in relationships that confuse you. Following leaders who manipulate through charm instead of character. That's why learning how to read people is not optional. It's essential, not for control, not for games, but for survival. Social survival skills are not about becoming a shark. They're about not becoming bait. They help you recognize when a mentor is actually grooming you. When a friend is using vulnerability to gain leverage. When a team player is positioning themselves to step over you. This is not paranoia. It's precision. The kind of clarity that Muta 1 was built for. To unmask the invisible games. To help you see what others deny. To make sure your empathy doesn't become your blind spot. Because the people who manipulate best often cry first. They weaponize vulnerability. They use closeness as currency. They know that the best way to disarm you is to seem disarmed themselves. And if you judge by body language alone, you lose. You need layers, context, a survival mindset, the ability to ask deeper questions. What is this person not showing? What happens when I stop giving them energy? Do their signals match their history, or just the moment? That's emotional intelligence in its rawest form. Not just reading emotions, but reading the why behind them. Not getting pulled by the wave, but watching where it started. Because in the end, the game is not about reacting faster. It's about detaching quicker, seeing the play, and stepping out of it if needed. Most people react. You must observe. Most people interpret based on hope or fear. You must interpret based on structure. That's what separates someone who wins quietly from someone who keeps wondering why they were left behind. Because here's a truth most won't admit. Power is often quiet. It doesn't need to move much. It doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to signal. It receives signals. It waits. It sees who tries too hard. It watches who explains too much. Who fidgets. Who needs approval. These are the ones who are still playing to be liked, instead of playing to see clearly. Now pause, and think about your last 5 interactions. Not what was said, not what you felt, but what was shown, under the surface. Who looked away first? Who needed to fill the silence? Who adjusted their tone when power walked into the room? That's the language you need to learn. Because once you do, you become someone who walks differently. Someone who doesn't get dragged into emotional games. Someone who doesn't fall for surface cues. Someone who others can't quite manipulate anymore. You stop leaking energy. You stop handing out your attention for free. You become harder to read, and even harder to play. That's what it means to have street smart skills, even in a boardroom. To feel when a room shifts before words confirm it. To know when silence is strategy, not awkwardness. To sense when a compliment is bait. To see behind the mask. That's not cold, that's clear. And clarity is what sets you free. Because the world will always have players. Always have games. Always have people who use gestures like weapons. You can't stop them, but you can stop being surprised. You can stop giving away your trust before it's earned. You can stop reacting to body language and start decoding it. That's the shift. From reacting to reading. From feeling to knowing. From assuming to seeing. And once you make that shift, you never walk into a room the same again.